The Boy Who Never Woke Up. Hey everyone. Tonight, I'd like you to find a comfortable place to settle in. Maybe the lights are already off. Maybe the rain is tapping softly against the window. Or maybe the room is completely silent except for the tiny hum of a fan that has somehow become the soundtrack to every peaceful evening you've ever had. Whatever brought you here, welcome. Tonight's story is unusual. Not because it is loud. Not because monsters jump out from behind doors. Nothing like that. Instead, we're following the life of a perfectly ordinary boy. A boy who went to sleep every single night. Just like everyone else. The only difference is that he never woke up as himself. Every morning, somewhere else in the world, another pair of eyes slowly opened. Different room, different family, different language, different life. Imagine trying to finish your homework while accidentally becoming someone else's son every sunrise. It sounds inconvenient, to put it mildly. So, take one slow breath. Let your shoulders relax. And let's begin. The first time it happened, Ethan was 8 years old. He lived in a tiny village tucked between forests and rolling hills. Nothing particularly magical about it. The bread smelled wonderful. The neighbors knew absolutely everyone's business. And every old man insisted weather predictions could be made by staring at chickens. Historical accuracy on that last point remains questionable. Ethan had no reason to think he was different. He liked climbing trees. He hated spinach. He believed adults knew everything. That final belief would not survive the coming years. One cool autumn evening, he crawled into bed beneath a patch blanket. His mother kissed his forehead. His father reminded him not to stay awake imagining dragons, which naturally guaranteed dragons would immediately become the only thing worth imagining. Within minutes, he drifted asleep. Then, morning arrived. Only, not exactly. He opened his eyes beneath a painted ceiling. The mattress felt softer. The blanket smelled faintly of lavender. His own room had neither painted ceilings nor lavender. Mostly it smelled like old wood and wet boots. A woman entered. She smiled warmly. "Good morning, Princess." Princess? That seemed unexpected. Ethan looked down. Smaller hands, silk sleeves, long golden hair. Well, that certainly complicated things. He screamed. The woman screamed. Someone dropped a tray. Several guards rushed inside. Everyone appeared deeply concerned. Not because Ethan had mysteriously traveled between bodies. No. They believed the princess had simply awakened in a rather dramatic mood, which apparently happened often enough that nobody questioned it too much. Royal households are surprisingly flexible about strange behavior. History contains entire kingdoms that accepted decisions because someone claimed the stars looked tired that week. Compared to that, one unusually confused princess hardly ranked as national emergency material. Hours passed. Ethan stumbled through conversations he barely understood. Names floated around him. Servants bowed. Teachers waited. Ladies adjusted dresses that clearly required engineering degrees to wear properly. He answered almost every question with, "I don't know," which adults interpreted as youthful stubbornness. Adults are remarkably talented at inventing explanations that require the least paperwork. By sunset, he grew sleepy, very sleepy. He climbed into an enormous bed surrounded by embroidered curtains, closed unfamiliar eyes, and slept. Morning came again. His own bedroom, his own blanket, his own mother calling him downstairs, as though absolutely nothing had happened. He laughed. It had obviously been a dream, an unusually detailed dream, but still, only a dream. Then he looked into his pocket. Inside, a tiny golden button. Definitely not his. Definitely not from anywhere inside his house. Dreams rarely leave souvenirs. For several days, Nothing happened. Life continued. School, fishing, chores, trying unsuccessfully to convince chickens they wanted to be friends. Then, another ordinary evening, another ordinary sleep, another entirely different morning. This time, he awoke as an elderly merchant aboard a ship. His knees hurt, his back hurt, his beard somehow hurt. He hadn't previously realized beards possessed emotional weight. Apparently, they do. The ship rocked gently beneath him. Sailors shouted unfamiliar words. Someone complained about fish. Someone else complained about taxes. Some traditions never disappear. Across centuries, across continents, humanity remains wonderfully consistent at complaining about taxes. The merchant possessed memories. Not Ethan's memories, someone else's. Faint impressions, names, faces, routes across seas. He didn't fully undo. They drifted through his mind like reflections on water, visible but impossible to grasp. Throughout the day, he found himself knowing things he had never learned. How to negotiate prices, how to inspect silk, how to identify dishonest buyers by watching their eyebrows. Eyebrows apparently reveal quite a lot. Who knew? Certainly not 8-year-old Ethan. That evening, sleep returned. Morning followed. Back home. Again. Weeks became months. The pattern continued. Never predictable. Never repeated. Each night, another person, another life, another century. Sometimes rich. Sometimes poor. Sometimes famous. Mostly forgotten. History, Ethan slowly realized, spends surprisingly little time remembering ordinary people. Kings receive statues. Farmers receive, well, healthy appreciation from historians. Occasionally, if they're lucky, he became a baker, a shepherd, a scholar, a palace cook, a tired mother raising 5 children, a lonely monk copying books, a physician who believed onions solved nearly every illness. Medicine has certainly evolved, mostly, hopefully. No matter who he became, the rule never changed. One day, one life, then home. Always home. He told his parents. Naturally, children usually tell parents about impossible experiences. Parents usually respond with practical solutions. His father suggested fewer bedtime stories. His mother suggested warm milk. Neither recommendation altered reality. Eventually, Ethan stopped talking about it. Adults rarely believe impossible truths, but they enthusiastically believe ordinary misunderstandings. Life became simpler that way. Years passed. Ethan turned 12, then 13. By now, he had lived thousands of borrowed days, more childhoods than any child should possess, more adulthood than many elderly people. He had watched weddings, harvests, births, quiet funerals, long winters, peaceful summers, tiny victories nobody remembered, small heartbreaks nobody recorded. History books love battles. Real life usually happens somewhere else. One morning, he awoke inside the body of a young prince. The palace buzzed with nervous excitement. Servants whispered. Tailors hurried through endless hallways. Portrait painters waited impatiently. The prince, whose body Ethan temporarily borrowed, was expected to meet ambassadors that afternoon. Nothing stressful, just the future stability of an entire kingdom depending upon polite conversation. Children have certainly handled easier homework assignments. The prince's tutor spent 3 hours explaining proper etiquette. Bow here, smile there, never interrupt, never yawn, never mention your uncle's unfortunate goose incident. Apparently, every royal family has at least one deeply embarrassing goose story. History simply chooses not to include them. A tragic editorial decision. That afternoon, Ethan attended court. Gold glittered everywhere. Marble reflected sunlight across polished floors. The ambassadors bowed. The prince smiled. Ethan smiled. Everyone smiled. Politics, he noticed, involved astonishing amounts of smiling while quietly distrusting absolutely everyone. Some customs remained timeless. Late that evening, the prince wandered alone through palace gardens. He looked toward the stars, then softly whispered, "I hope tomorrow is different." Ethan froze. The prince knew. Somehow, he knew. Before Ethan could ask anything, sleep claimed him. Morning, home, again. That sentence lingered. "I hope tomorrow is different." Different. Why? Did the prince experience strange dreams too? Had someone else noticed this impossible pattern? For the first time, Ethan wondered whether he was the only traveler, or merely one participant inside something much larger. He began keeping a journal. Every borrowed life, every name, every city, every unusual habit, every strange conversation. Thousands of tiny details. Most seemed unrelated. A baker who feared birds, a queen obsessed with clocks, a fisherman who collected blue stones, a librarian who secretly hated books, which admittedly feels like becoming a lifeguard with a fear of water. Career counseling may have been useful there. Years passed. The notebook grew thicker, then another notebook, then another. Patterns slowly emerged. Certain symbols appeared repeatedly. A silver moon, a black tree, a spiral carved into rings. People from different centuries, different countries, different languages, sometimes wore identical symbols. Always briefly, always without explanation. One winter evening, as snow settled quietly outside Ethan's window, he opened the oldest notebook, compared names, compared dates, compared places. Then, his heartbeat slowed. Not faster. Slower. Because one realization quietly settled into place. He had never awakened inside someone older than 35. Not once. Thousands of lives. Countless people. None beyond that age. It couldn't be coincidence. Something was ending long before anyone grew old. And somehow, every night, he was watching it happen from the inside. He simply didn't know why. Yet.